So there's a very good smoker here which I can recommend. What's it called?
The Stornoway Smokehouse. No.
No. The Stornoway what? Hello?
Take two.
In 2019, we took 3 months out to go sailing. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. Join us on our trip sailing the west coast of Scotland, the Hebrides and the Orkney Islands. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Maybe hit that bell button to be notified of new videos.
We are anchored in Eilean Thinngarstaigh on Lewis, and it's the first time I feel like I've got my coat off all holiday. It's really nice and warm now. It's a lovely anchorage, really settled, very sheltered, and the wind's coming from the southwest at the moment, but yeah, it was northwest when we got here and it's northeast tomorrow, and I think we're going to be alright for all three directions. We ventured ashore. We found a little cleared slipway on the shore and managed to get the dinghy up it. You can't really see it until you're on top of it really, but yeah, it was worth looking for. And then we've been exploring. We found a little shieling and what looks like the remains of an old black house and tons of lazy beds. They wouldn't have been short potatoes. So after we explored just around this little settlement, we scaled up over that way. There's a waterfall you can see coming down. So we worked our way around to the top of the waterfall and over the crest of the cliff. You walk up there and there's a lovely little loch that feeds the waterfall. And we carried on a little bit further and then just got up to the crest of the ridge, and there's the most spectacular views. Down to the next valley, which is Loch Laxford and the little settlement of Valamus. And then beyond that you could see out into the Minch. You could see the shants were really, really clear, and the views over to the mainland was so clear. We worked out we were seeing mountains that are more than 50 miles away. Absolutely stunning.
It's really good getting ashore or going kayaking or rowing or cycling or walking when you come to one of these anchorages, because surely then that you get a real sense of the place. Just get a bit more involved in the history and the wildlife. We saw some eagles earlier, and it gives you a much more rounded view of the place than being just stuck on a boat on a mooring.
And the next day after that, it was torrential rain, and I just remember there being cascades of, waterfalls and water everywhere in Eilean Thinngarstaigh. And we shipped out, didn't we? So where did we go after Eilean Thinngarstaigh?
We were away after lunch from Eilean Thinngarstaigh, and we had about 14 to 18 knots by the look of it, very rolly it says. And the rain eased off, but then the wind dropped. The next thing I've logged is we've made it into the inner pool in Loch Mharabhig. I remember it being quite a tricky passage to get around the kind of twists and turns of Loch Mharabhig.
Yeah, we were very lucky to have the Antares charts on the iPad, so it's some pretty tricky navigation. And then there was lots of choices of different anchorages, so we kind of explored around a little bit to find the best one, and ended up in a particularly pretty inner pool.
I remember getting into the inner anchorage at Loch Mharabhig, and it's got a real kind of snug feel to it. I like that spot. I think it's absolutely stunning.
It turned out to be very sheltered, and a really handy location because I guess it's just south of Stornoway on the Isle of Lewis, so it's a good location.
Then the next day we had, it says pleasant evening shore party, watch the seals, eagles and various wildlife. I quite like the kind of rough scrambling just up the little peaks around the loch. I remember being sat there looking out across all these, little pools and little islets, and then, amazing birds with amazing bird calls kind of flying around us. And we could have done with a kind of tame ornithologist with us, really, couldn't we? It was a bit bouncy coming out of the entrance of Loch Meriveg because it was kind of going straight into an easterly, and it's looking easterly, and the winds weren't that strong, but it was for a narrow entrance it was a bit bouncy. And then it looks like we had a nice sail up to Stornoway, and then motored into Stornoway Harbour late morning on the 2nd of June.
So it was our first time into Stornoway. I remember it being quite nerve-wracking, and also it involved going alongside a pontoon, which is extremely nerve-wracking for us in our boat, because we usually crash into everything.
It was a big culture shock because we've been kind of out in the wilds and hadn't seen much human life for a long time. Knowing that there's bad weather coming, it's got a really snug feel to it. It's a very well protected it would have been a very protected anchorage, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean there's a huge outer anchorage for huge ships, but to actually where the marina is, you go past the main harbour walls, if you like, and you effectively go up a little river, and you have to make quite a tight turn into the moorings. So it's one of those places where you have to radio ahead and tell them you're coming in and do all that kind of radio check stuff.
Which we don't do a lot of, do we?
You don't get a lot of that on the west coast of Scotland, to be honest.
Well, we don't. Some people do.
Well, yeah, but Stornoway is one of those major places. It's got a proper manned radio, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And we radioed and asked for a mooring for a pontoon berth. And very luckily, they picked a really easy pontoon berth for us to pick right next to the RNLI lifeboat.
Very handy.
Which is just in case we crashed the boat, they could rescue us from the other side of the pontoon. But anyway, we didn't crash, surprisingly. And we got in on first attempt, I believe, even though it had a 90-degree bend getting in. But it was okay, wasn't it?
It was. I thought it was a really nice marina, and very sheltered because we did have some quite wild weather, and it had nice facilities. I remember we spent a lot of time in the laundry because it's one of the few laundry stops we'd been to. So if it's pouring down and there's a gale blowing, what do you do? We go and sit in the laundry. I remember going shopping because again we hadn't been to that many places that we could kind of top up our provisions for a while, and we called in on the way at Stornoway Smokehouse and met a guy called Alistair Fraser.
He was supposed to be shut, but he let us in anyway. And was very hospitable and answered lots of questions, and
they're still using the old brick kilns. I don't know how old they are, but I think there aren't many of them about that are still using old brick kilns, and they smoke it for 3 days, he gave us a few bits to try, I think, and it was pretty nice. And after we got back, you then went out shopping again on the bike and got another gas bottle.
I remember that. We'd run out of gas, but we got quite large with gas bottles, but I thought, I don't know when we're going to get to anywhere that does gas bottles. So I had to cycle in my Brompton fold-up bike to a petrol station at the edge of town to pick up a gas bottle, and it was easy going there with the empty, but coming back it weighed an absolute ton.
Gas bottle for Roberts.
It's the only way to fly.
We got up early in the morning because the wind was slowly veering and we were going to get pinned onto the pontoon if we stayed too long. So we thought we'd escape Stornoway Marina before it all got a bit hectic. We are heading for the mainland, probably. We're going to see what the sea state's like because there's been some really strong winds the last few days. So we're expecting probably a bit of sea, but it's not too bad so far. So we'll see how we get on, and we can always turn back and go somewhere like Meriveg if it's too rough to cross. Stornoway was all peaceful and quiet first thing this morning when we decided to leave. Nobody was up in the marina, and so we left the marina to find there was a ferry car park outside. The Calmac followed us out, which was fine because we were expecting that, but then outside there were two massive great big ferry liners and their tugboats parked in the entrance. So yeah, we've had to play dodgems to get out here, and now it's all peaceful and calm again. It's a bit of a shock to the system going to a marina. We don't go to marinas very often, and then there's all of the challenges of manoeuvring a fairly long-keeled boat in close quarters, particularly in close quarters to lots of really expensive other boats. But the other thing here is that it's like a proper harbour, so you have to radio in for permission to arrive and permission to depart, so that was quite fun.
Yeah, but we managed to somehow get off the pontoon and have the boat pointed the right way afterwards. I don't know how we managed that.
Yeah, success.
Yeah, it seems to all work out. I think I'll stick to mooring and anchoring when I can though.
Yes, I think it's what I like best. But what I really like best is this, just gently cruising along. What are we doing? We're doing
not a lot.
About 4 knots, and the visibility is really good, and it's looking just beautiful on the Lewis coast, and the mountains of Harris are starting to come out. And yeah, we're going to head to the mainland. With a bit of luck, we'll get a bit of good visibility on the way over.
I'll be very happy if we maintain a beam reach all the way. And it's one of those places where I don't know what the total journey distance is, 49.9, 50 miles.
Yeah.
And it's just enough where you kind of lose, you can't see where you're going when you set off, and you can't see where you've been when you get there.
Yeah.
And there's a point in the middle where you can sort of see both sides, but it's very faint, isn't it?
Well, we haven't done a lot of we don't do offshore sailing
Not
much,
really.
but we were going 50 nautical miles from Lewis to the mainland, and there's nothing in between, so you kind of think it does kind of give you that feeling of really being away from it all. I've just woken up, I've been off watch for 3 hours, and all of a sudden the mainland's appeared. And it's stunning! It's not only the mainland's appeared, but the mainland and some sunny weather has appeared, and it's just glorious. A few days of force 8 gales behind us. It's no surprise really that there's been quite a big swell, but it's been 3 metres is probably conservative. It's settled down a good bit now, but yeah, when it was at its highest, it's felt like a bit of a journey in a tumble dryer. We are heading into Loch Laxford, which is an area I know absolutely nothing about, but we're going to go into an anchorage there, and it should put us in a good position, all being well, to be able to go around Cape Wrath the day after tomorrow.
Raw, rocky feel to it. There's red rocks on the entrance, and fine haven, I don't know how you pronounce it, at the end of the loch, big mountain, and it's on an epic scale. It's much more rocky than we're used to, and yet there are trees over there, which is another thing we don't normally get up this north.
are in Loch Laxford, and it's gorgeous and the sun's shining and it's beautiful. All the rocks are kind of pinky. It's a lovely little anchorage and it's got shelter from all directions pretty much. Yeah, really pleased to be here.